What is going on, my friends, and welcome back to another video on the channel. Well, in today's video, we are going over Solana as its price is doing something extremely important that, if successful, could have some absolutely amazing results. So with that said, of course, we're just going to be kind of building off of the last update from yesterday, in which we're now going to take a look at what is going on, if we were right in a way, and how we can expect the price of Solana to move from this point forward. So what I told you guys is that as the price was falling, I said be on the lookout for it to come to this $98 to about $88 range. What we know is that this range is going to serve as utmost important, and that if we're capable of bouncing off of it, we very possibly could see another higher high established above $150. The way in which we did find this range is by drawing a Fibonacci from the low all the way up to the high up here, and as you can see, that 618 to 786 macro Fibonacci zone is sitting between $98 and $88, which gives us that key level of retracement. This is your golden zone. Basically what this zone says is that if we're going to bounce off of this zone, we very possibly could bounce to a new higher high and a complete full-blown retest retracement. But if we lose this zone, there's a very high likelihood we will resort back to that previous low, and more often than not even set the lower low, which looks like Solana falling into the mid to low 70s. So that is why it is so important that we are capable of seeing the price hold at this point, especially after seeing a strong break of trend. One thing we can see, and then one thing that we know historically, is that these 618 to 786 zones are extremely important for us to see these moves to the upside and the downside. Let me give you a quick example. Whenever we broke out of this little short-term trend here from September to October, realistically, we got to break out towards the upside. Well, one thing we can see is that even to the upside, we got to break right up to that 618 to 786 zone to the top side before getting rejected. But what's beautiful is that as we did get rejected to the bottom side, if we then go swing low to swing high, look where we came back down to. Right down, wick to that 618 to 786 zone before allowing it to set that new higher high. If we are going to move at this point, similarly to what we saw back here, it is going to look like Solana making a bounce off of this zone and continuing back up to set the new local macro high and confirming that we are in an uptrend by seeing the higher high and the higher low. So it is extremely important that we hold this zone and we do not lose $98 to $88. And considering the fact that we are seeing Bitcoin doing a decent job of finding support on its own key level here, I do believe that there is a strong chance Solana will do so, which is why we did make that purchase in the last video. So now one thing we can also see though is that if we turn on our 50-day simple moving average, we are also in a similar position in which Solana is back testing that 50-day simple moving average. If you look here, we have touched it and been rejected, and been rejected. But that moment we broke through it, we never came back to back test it. And one thing we know about Solana is it is going to come back to back test that 50-day simple moving average eventually. Now what's beautiful and something that I think is just absolutely amazing in terms of confluence is that in this same example, when we came back to this 618 to 786 zone, we actually back tested that 50-day moving average as well, meaning that the setup was extremely similar to what we are seeing now. So what it comes down to at this point is Solana making this move and holding above $98. If at any given point we lose $98, do expect to see the price pushing back towards $88 down here and retesting the bottom side of its daily Bollinger Band envelope before eventually looking for another push. If we lose 98 and come to 88, I do think it is very likely that we will see another bounce towards at least 98 again before eventually correcting to the downside, but this would be an absolutely critical moment, and that if we lost it, it would start to get pretty ugly, okay? So at this point, be on the lookout to see, do we hold $98? The way in which I'm going about it to say that we have successfully backtested and established support on this $98 level is if we get back above the 20-day simple moving average, which is currently at $115. If we're capable of doing so, we will have successfully bounced off of this level, confirmed the bullish divergence that we covered in the last episode, and cleared this rejective high that we saw right here that eventually did push the price back down when we lost the 20 simple moving average, backtested it, failed, and continued to the downside. If we can clear this key level of rejection, that does put us in a position to very likely start to see some strong growth, especially when we get past this $123 level of rejection there. So be on the lookout for Solana to clear $115, which is currently where that 20-day simple moving average is. In the event in which it does so, I will be doing one more accumulation, as I am under the belief that we will then start to see Solana really taking off. I did buy some around $101, as I did promise in the last video, And my next accumulation would again then be if we were capable of clearing this rejective high, because that would be the third step for us, again, to start to see some of these higher highs take off. Now, don't forget that we do have many bullish indicators on many of our time frames to support my bullish thesis here. You look at something, for example, like the, let's just look at the daily RSI to make it easy. This previous low, this previous macro low that we set at $88, in comparison to now, we are still setting the higher low. But when you put that into comparison and perspective with our RSI here, we have set the lower low. That's a drive of bullish divergence that says that the bears are getting weaker. Although the momentum is still slowing down and going towards the downside, they are going to get exhausted much faster, which does usually allow us to set the higher low and continue to the top side once the bulls do step in. Not only that, though, we are still looking really good on the weekly perspective, in which we have been getting a very, very, very close moment here, in which we should get that bull cross happening relatively soon if we can get one strong week of green here. So considering the fact that on many of our different time frames we are seeing the bullish crosses, as you can see, we are seeing a clear drive of bullish divergence here with the higher low established and the lower low on the weekly RSI. All of these things do say that we are in a position to see growth, but it is up to the market. It's up for Solana to be able to hold this key level here, this key range here, to continue towards the top side, as well as to follow Bitcoin, as it does also make its attempt to backtest and hold this key level of support before eventually continuing back up to what could be $50,000, $52,000, $51,000. So that is why this moment is so important. Today's episode and today's video wasn't really to focus on exactly, what we can expect the price to do, but more on what you should be looking out for and why holding this $98 level and getting back above 115 at this point is so important, but what you can expect if we do lose $98, which is very likely a trip to 88, even as low as $80, okay? So with that being said, of course, I will continue to do these short, quick, and sweet updates. Now that my fight from Saturday is over, I do have a lot more energy and I am much more capable of putting out content. So do stay tuned for that. And if you want to make sure you never miss a video, simply just turn on that notification bell when you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss one. But with that being said, of course, I will see you all very soon in the next video. Peace.